Hi there guys, we are now on worksheet 3. We have been presented with half cylinders and I have already drawn my constructed isometric cylinders. On your worksheet you have not been presented with your entire cylinder, so you will have to go and construct your isometric circles on each face and the two lines that will form the actual cylinder. Once you have found the entire cylinder, which also fits inside of its own box, or in this case the cube, you will then have to go and look at the actual shape given to you and decide which arcs you are going to be using to present as a final drawing. And number 1, when I zoom in on number 1, I'll realize that I've used the entire arc of my isometric circle in this end over here. Once you have constructed your cylinder, you could simply go ahead and start drawing in those darker lines. And yet again, you'll note that only a portion of this cylinder here is going to be used, because I'm only going to be able to see this portion over here in the front. This portion in the back, I'm going to simply trim away. And I'm only going to be using that portion. Right, this is taking shape now. If I look at number 1 again. Number 1 says that there's a line going from that middle to that middle. If I simply took a line and I constructed a line from here, I would notice that it actually lines up with that point there and that point there as well. I'm not going to do that from here though. I want to logically prove this. So I'm going to use my line tool and I'm going to be drawing a line from the center of the top isometric square to the center of the bottom isometric square. Because we are simply copying the number, I'll know and can compare exactly what needs to be done. Your challenge from here on out will be to draw this entire shape without having the help of this, or having the help of being able to see this. We know that that line's going to exist. There it is there. And I also want to go from the middle of the top surface to the middle of the bottom surface. And all that's left will be that line. Right, number 1 is done. I think the hard work is really to get the isometric cylinder in place and then selecting exactly where to draw from and to be able to get exactly the same half as in number 1. Let's look at number 2. Number 2 is directing in a slightly different direction. This is a cylinder lying down, drawn at an isometric angle. And I've done exactly that to my constructed cylinder. Once I've drawn the actual cylinder in construction, I'm going to go ahead and select yet again which of the arcs need to be in final line. I'm definitely going to be seeing this arc over here and this arc over here. This line here, go change that to final line. Because that is the exact center of my isometric square, the front face, I'm simply going to be using my line tool, or in your case, you'll be using your 30-degree set square to draw this line from one point to the other, dividing that circle into two. You theoretically will have to divide the circle at the back into two as well, as we are having half a cylinder. And if you'd like, you could simply go and join the two lines, or the points, the ends of those lines. And soon this shape makes sense. Yet again, we have an arc that we're going to be using, this one over here, but we're only going to be using a portion of this line, or the arc. So I'm going to use my trim tool, trim away this portion over here. You don't need to erase this, you just simply leave your construction line over there, and this will be the only portion that will be in a final line. There we go. Let's compare our shapes. Exactly what we needed. Right, our third and final one is directing into a different direction. It's lying to the right, and it's also lying on its side. Yet it's the top half of my cylinder, and I've got to select which of these arcs of my isometric circle I'm going to be using yet again. I've constructed my isometric cylinder lying in the correct direction, and I'm simply going to be selecting the arcs used Right, I'm simply going to be cutting my front isometric circle into half, or to two. And I'm going to do exactly the same on this side here. And yet again, I'm stuck with an arc that is a full arc, and I'm not going to be using the full arc. In your case, you're going to be leaving this construction line over here. I'm going to trim it on the computer, and I'm going to change the line type. Let's have a look at whether I have all three correctly drawn. I do. Thank you for joining me for Worksheet 3. I hope this has helped you thoroughly.